the two pictures of the Brooklyn Bridge, which are meant to, they are supposed to also not only illustrate how a photographer tries to change the way we look at things, but also demonstrates the philosophies of the time. This one by Shell is done in the 30s, 1930s. The philosophy governing that time is modernism. If I haven't explained it very well before, modernism is concerned with wholeness, solidity,
wholeness po.
Pagkakabuo, organic unity, and all that. Do you see that here? When we look at the Brooklyn Bridge, it's so huge, it's towering over us, it looks very solid, it looks formidable. And what's beautiful about the photo is that there are meshes, yung suspension sa bridge, you remember from architecture. The shot is more about creating texture through lines. So it's about the shape, it's about geometry, it's also about scale. How do we know that the Brooklyn Bridge is a big-ass monument or structure? Because there are people walking on the bridge. These are the people on the bridge. Can you imagine how, if this is a 6-foot American man, how high up the Brooklyn Bridge is? It's also about symmetry. Ganda na balance yan, no? Okay. So everything is seemingly structured or constructed so that it looks perfect, well thought of. It looks whole. That is the philosophy of the 30s. We find that in this picture. By the way, the Brooklyn Bridge is apparently not just for vehicles, but I think it's more for pedestrians. So it's always filled with people crossing it. Okay. Now, there's another artist, David Hockney, whom I think I included in the past handout for painting. He made a bigger splash. But he's also a photographer. This one was done in the 1980s. This is not anymore modernism, it's post-modernism, where instead of wholeness, it celebrates fragmentation. And putting things together that are not supposed to be together. Yun ang postmodernism eh. So you have fragmentation, superficiality. They should take these out sa Pino.
Huh?
There you weren't introduced into these modes of philosophical thought. But do you see the fragmentation here, at least on a literal level? Ito kasi yan. If we have to think of an analogy so that we remember the distinction better, and this is how my professor in literary theory put it. Modernism daw sees truth as a plate, plato, china, ceramic, that once broken, he struggles to put the pieces back together. If you recall, 1930s was after World War I, right? Great Depression. Life wasn't happy and peachy. In fact, you kind of see a sense of foreboding in the photo. Medyo nakakatakot. So that is, but there is an effort to make everything look whole again. Yun ang modernism. So there is a plate that is shattered. Plate is true. Shattered. Kasi circumstances in world history would not let us see the beautiful finer things in life, but we try. We make an effort to put them together. Postmodernism, on the other hand, once they see that the plate is shattered, they dance around it. They celebrate that sense of fragmentation of reality. Ito yung, ang gusto kong translation ng postmodernism, if we have a Filipino attitude towards it, is wala lang. The wala lang attitude. Walang deeper meaning. Kaya ang superficiality din. Diba? Tinanong kayo, bakit ganyan ang suot mo? Wala lang. Yun ang postmodern yun. Because there is nothing that coheres or that puts the elements together. And we see that on a literal level here. Because this is supposed to be a composite shot. It's almost like a collage. But it's a composite shot in the sense that there were many photos of the Brooklyn Bridge taken by the photographer, then cut up, and then glued on paper. Okay, sorry, maybe we could turn off the light so you could see it. So, on a literal level, even in form, this is postmodern because of the fragmentation. Tapos, how else is it postmodern? The other picture, the highlight is the bridge and how enormous it is. How huge it is, how monumental it is. Modernism, holiness. Ito, the bridge looks what? Laughable. Nakakatawa na siya. It does not look as scary, as ominous as it did in the other photo. And that's another attitude of the postmodern. It tries to diminish or laugh at established institutions. If this is an icon of New York, the Brooklyn Bridge, the postmodern photographer would try to not fall into the trap of modernist significance. Hindi siya susunod sa ginagawa ng modernist. Ang modernist photographer, i-exalt niya, i-highlight niya yung ganda ng Brooklyn Bridge and how foreboding it is and how ominous it is. The postmodern photographer almost dwarfs it, makes it distorted. Ayan, fragmentation, superficiality. Distorted siya, and
Yung paa.
yeah. What is, I think, is more important is not just the perspective. It almost looks like a fishbowl effect. Di ba may ganyan sa Instagram? Fishbowl effect. It's almost looks like it is shaped like an eye. And they focus on the endless stretch of road leading to the bridge. Kanina, I told you, hindi nawawala ng tao. Hindi nawawala ng tao ang Brooklyn Bridge. It's always peppered with people crossing the bridge because they needed to get to the other side. That's how busy New York was. We saw that in Broadway Boogie Woogie. And that's why this was taken with a lot of shots. When Hockney had to cut up the photos, he had to isolate the ones that cropped people out so that there would be an empty bridge. And then it's also postmodern. Empty yung bridge. He wanted to show the bridge without the people that used it. It's always just going against the grain of what modernism stands for. And it's cute. There's a cute detail here. It's very good. You notice the feet at the foot of the bridge. The feet at the foot of the bridge. The bridge. That's the photographer's own feet. He would always have that, Hockney would always have that kind of signature in all his photos. That he's going to include himself. The artist is not separate from the art. You can have them there. But yeah, so yeah, I think, I hope I give you an easy summary because postmodern is a complicated philosophy. So that's the easiest way to approach it. It dwarfs truths. Truth is a modernist concept. There's only one God. There's only one kind of love. You should only have one wife. It's about oneness. That's modernism. But postmodernism likes smaller truths, micro-truths, and it likes plurality. It likes fragmentation. So all those keywords. And it would be hard to understand them if we don't read what postmodernism is about. But that's the easiest way I could simplify it for you. So yeah. Which one do you like better? And this is a little bit colored, yes. It has some post-processing techniques kasi 1980s yun naman. But taken with, not with the digital, but of course with film cam. Okay, ano nangyayari? You need the light. You need the light. Sorry, thank you. Kasi hindi makita sa video. Alright, so the two photos demonstrate a simple truth. Photographic artistry derives from what is included and emphasized, or what is omitted and de-emphasized. The photographer always makes those choices. And I told you to look through the frame made out of your fingers. Everything that you see from within that frame should be what you will focus on if you're taking a photo. Okay, let's go now to... We have a question. Okay, so if you have, if we had portraits in painting, we also have portraits in photography. If anything, it was a lot easier for people to sit through a portrait in a photo. Nasimulan na ba natin ito? Alright, so one of the first uses of photography was to capture people's faces for news. Kasi in the past, there were no photographs that appeared in newspapers. Everything was hand-drawn. Can you imagine that? Picture ng presidente nag-i-speech, naka-sketch. or naka-drawing. Walang photographs in newspaper. When cameras were invented, people found in the media found a new use for them. So it started with photojournalism. Later on, portraiture as a legitimate photographic art became popular. So you have this Rita Gilbert quote. I won't read it anymore. Let's start with Lewis Carroll, who you probably know is the author from Alice in Wonderland. Right. He was also a photographer. And this is, and what you notice about photography is, if it's untitled, the best way you could give it a title is to describe who is in it. So these are three girls at Elm Lodge having their picture taken. Si Lewis Carroll, since he wrote Alice in Wonderland, may fascination siya with the young girls. He's not a pedophile. He's not a pedophile. That's not the point. But this picture is commended because it shows something very natural. Parang she doesn't even care that she's not looking at the camera. She does. Actually, takot ako sa batang to eh. Diba? Parang but when you look at the other photo, this one, she's just fixing her hair. These were people in candid situations. That was difficult to do for a portrait because kahit lang class picture tayo. Kailangan may wacky shots tayo. Pero before that, we had to be formal and we had to sit still. And like I told you last time, subjects had to remain motionless and unblinking for 30 to 60 seconds when there were no major improvements in the camera yet. It has to do with the chemical process, like I explained last time, with the plates, with the daguerreotype, diba? So, ang dilat siya, we can't really tell if she had to be motionless the whole time. But it's amusing that the two other girls in the picture don't really care if there was a camera. They didn't really care that it was a portrait. And for them, a portrait, you have to schedule it eh. Pupunta ka talaga sa studio ng photographer, o kaya yung photographer pupunta sa bahay, mag-aayos kayo, magbibis kayo ng maganda. Because it's meant to be exactly what portraits were to Renaissance patrons, the husband of Mona Lisa, the commissioned Da Vinci for the portrait. Yan siya ka-importante. So, the picture was commended for showing a sense of candidness, youthful innocence, and charm. Although this girl really creeps the hell out of me, so I'm gonna just move on. Now, here is a better example of how portrait photography or portraiture was used for politics. Mathew Brady is actually an important name in the history of photography. He was the first man to ever take photography and portraiture in the 19th century to whole new heights. He, in fact, took this shot of Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln portrait. The Cooper Union portrait. Cooper Union was the college where Lincoln gave a lecture. Nangangampanya pa lang si Abraham Lincoln when this was taken. And you can see that he's a bit younger. The clothes don't fit him well. Parang kinuha lang yung blazer dun sa costume part ng studio. Yan, kailangan formal looking ka suot mo yan. Kasi the sleeve of the cuff, diba? When you look at those details, may sleeve ng cuff na hindi sakto dun sa kabila. So the coat is ill-fitting. And is he tense looking? A little bit, but it's not ill at ease. He's just really formal. His jaw is set. He hasn't gone to war yet. Look at the other object he's holding sa hand niya. It's almost casual, but firm the position. So when Lincoln won the presidency, this exact photo was very high in demand. And Mathew Brady made a lot of money with that. But the important thing about Brady as a photographer is he established, I think, a studio, and encouraged people to have their portraits taken. And it was business and aesthetic promotion. Like, there's an art market for photography in America thanks to Mathew Brady. Here's another portrait. I'm sure you know Charles Darwin. Best known for theory of evolution. This is a woman. Very interesting. There are women photographers that were celebrated at the turn of the century, 1900s. Yeah. This is 1868. Good job, Julia Margaret Cameron. This was her signature naman for portraits. Unlike Abraham Lincoln, usually when we take portraits, gusto natin nakaharap. nakaharap or kaya tilted ng konti. Julia Margaret Cameron had an almost profile. And I love how, actually, hindi masyadong kita sa projection, pero may soft focus dyan. Sharp focus for the foreground, and then a little bit blurred at the back to emphasize the dark background. So she wanted us to look at Charles Darwin's eyebrows, nakakulot, how focused he must be. He always looks like he's thinking, deep in thought, but it's the profile and the contrast between the beard and the shadows, the coat and the shirt, the color. It's a study in form, in color, and contrast. So here's another style of portraiture photography. Okay, next now, this portraits are normally about people. And now, eto na, postmodern na naman tayo. Postmodern kasi 1990s. Some artists just want to have fun with the convention of portraits. Maybe you can think of postmodernism that way. People in the 80s, 90s, and onwards who want to have fun, want to play. Ayun, yun yung spirit ng postmodernism. A play on established icons or whatever foundations and institutions. That's the postmodernist attitude. So, you will not get, I mean, it's funny, but it's even going to be even funnier if you knew what Lolita is. Alam niyo ba yung Lolita? A novel by Vladimir Nabokov. Well, you probably know Lolita from Lolita Goth, pero it's a novel kasi. It's a novel turned into a film. Ang kwento ng Lolita, there's a really old guy, sleazy, fell in love with a schoolgirl, Lolita. So it's actually a perverse kind of novel.
Pedophile.
Yeah. Kasi ang kwento ng Lolita, sineduce daw, the novel was written from the point of view of the old man. So talaga yung na-attract. But he made it seem as if the young girl seduced him. And that is what the dog is doing. Kasi hindi ako mag-post talaga ng aso. Ang tao mo, may mag-post aso pa kaya. Yeah. So you see how she's the dog. The dog's name is Batina, and that's the photographer's own dog. There are many other kinds of photographs with Batina in them. This is the Lolita shot. Tignan niyo yung legs. It's like the siren, the Hollywood siren legs, enticing and seductive. Tapos yung nakagaling yung kamay. It's funny. It's playing on what we know about the novel.